What's going what's going on this morning, family? Black Phoenix checking in. Right now I'm at the headquarters, and this morning I was thinking about the poll that I put up about the few different topics to go with when it comes to writing books and a couple ideas that I've been having here lately. And the rise of Black Phoenix is something that I wanted to talk to you about personally, just kind of giving you some ideas of where I wanted to go. And I had a gentleman tell me or inbox me pretty much or message me saying that the younger generation need to see the transformation and knowing that a person can actually come from a situation that they thought was um, that they thought that there was no way, there was no hope in it. Like it was only one way to do things until you actually start expanding your mind to get yourself to that next level. And personally, I just want to give a little background on me because I believe the way I want to introduce this is to give more background on who I am. So, my real name is Joe L. Brown Jr., and I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas at Pulaski County Hospital, 1980, March the 29th. So, I'm an Aries. I was born as a hog. Arkansas is known for the Razorbacks, known for the college. So I was born as a hog, and Little Rock is actually the capital of Arkansas. It's the biggest city in Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken. It is the capital for sure. I think it's the biggest city too. But most definitely, I remember my mom telling me when I was young that she wanted to make sure that I was born in the best hospital in the best city that was in her area. And she's from Arkansas, so she was like, "You got to be born in Little Rock. I want you to have better doctors, better nurses, better people around you. So I didn't want you to be born in one of these little towns where that's a 50-50 chance that something might happen to me or you. You know what I mean? Back then, things was kind of, up and down, especially when you was in the South, especially coming from McGee, Arkansas, Reed, Arkansas City, Deramar. That area was a rural area. The Delta is what we call it. And I was raised in McGee, Arkansas. But when I was young, my mom ended up um, moving to Denver, Colorado, and I remember us moving up there. I can actually remember. I can remember my first day of school in preschool because I remember being introduced to um, multiple races. Like I remember having friends of all different races. Like it was Spanish, um, it was Mid Eastern, it was American. You know what I mean? It was African American. Like I had like a mixture of friends growing up, and being in that environment gave me an open mind. Because growing up in Denver versus Arkansas, I can say that the environment was completely different. Like I didn't know what racism was. I didn't know what racism was until I came back to Arkansas because, like I say, I was born in Little Rock, and then later we moved to Denver. And a part of my rise, I would say, was the foundation, being born where I was born. You know what I mean? You know how you think about like everything has a purpose and a destination in it, but you don't see it at first. So my rise began, in Little Rock, in Arkansas. Is where I actually really got my hands dirty and gained the most of my character from. Now, in Denver is where I would say my life flipped around. Just got I don't know what happened. Like it went downhill, and it went downhill from my family, and I was too young to really notice what was going on. But my dad had got introduced to drugs. I don't know. I believe he got introduced to drugs in Denver, and then come back to Arkansas, and then it just spawned on. But I remember us living in a three-bedroom house in Montbello's. We had the fence. It was on a corner lot, And I remember some of my cousins from Arkansas coming and visit us, and I remember them telling me, and we'll be outside playing like, "Man, y'all rich," and I'm like, "We ain't rich." I was young. I didn't know what I know coming from the projects, coming from the South. Didn't nobody, didn't none of us have houses. I remember going down, everybody stayed in the projects, you know what I mean? Or a trailer, from like Reed, you know what I mean? Like I remember my grandmother had her own trailer, you know what I mean, a piece of land, and my grandfather had his own house, but majority of the people that I knew, family, they stayed in apartments or, the projects. So they'll come up there to Denver, they was like, "Man, y'all rich." I'm like, "Man, we ain't rich." And I remember, having the gold in the backyard and you know what I mean, the dog, you know what I mean, all the cool things. And I remember us having a van too, and the van had the table in the back, where I remember my dad and them playing cards and stuff on the table. And we had a small car that my mom had, and then my dad had another car. So I remember us, we was doing pretty well, but I was young, you know what I mean? I don't know. I knew that my mom was a CNA or a nursing assistant or something, and I know that what she was doing. And then my dad, later to find out, he was getting a check. He had been getting a check from the government since he was little, mental, physical check, you know what I mean? That he'd been getting since he was a child, from my understanding, So they was doing quite well, you know what I'm saying, from the appearance wise, and then some happened, you know, some happened real heavy when the drugs, when the ready rock or cocaine or crack hit the scenery. Especially, I'm gonna say not just cocaine. I'm gonna say crack. When crack hit the scenery, freebasing. You know what I mean? That changed a lot of things for a lot of families. And for my families specifically, like I say, I remember us living like this, and then I can't even lie to you. It seemed like the next day we was sleeping in a car. It was me, my sister, and my mom. And I remember her taking us to a shelter before we went to the car, before we slept in the car. And we went in, and I'll never forget it, man. We went in, and the ladies, I guess, she was talking to my mom about something because I didn't, you don't see the back at first. And then they took us to the back, and it was all these rooms, you know what I mean? And not rooms, so all these beds, and it had like dividers, like paper dividers or whatever. It might have a family here, people everywhere, And my mom was so humbled by having to be in that situation and seeing all those different people being there that I remember her looking at me in my eyes, and she was like, "Before we sleep in here, we'll sleep in the car until we get some money to go back home towards my family to, get us back right again." And I remember we did that. We slept in the car. I don't think it was cold during that time, because it get colder there, but I don't think it was cold during that time. But I remember sleeping in the car, and I remember her saying that my grandfather, which is my dad's dad, was going to send her some money to get us back. My dad didn't come back with us. I don't know how he got back, but the situation went left field, and my grandfather knew that my daddy probably it was going to go left field. So he was like, you gotta wait till I get my check or whatever. So this had to be around close to the first of the month, because I know my grandfather is a World War II veteran. So he had to wait till he get his check and whatever. He was like, "Hey, I get this. I'm gonna send y'all some money down there and get you back to Arkansas." So I remember us coming back, and coming back, man, I ain't gonna lie, it was hard getting established. I remember we never reached that peak in Arkansas that we did when we was in Denver, as far as like the house, the picket fence. I remember going from the projects to a different project to another project to a trailer, to a small shotgun house, you know what I mean? That later I found out was part of where they actually allowed the slaves stayed at, in this town. They pick cotton and chop cotton, because I stayed in literally a cotton picking town, and I did chop cotton, and that's a part of my story too, because I want to say I know I wasn't 13. Maybe I was 13 when I stopped. No, I know I wasn't. I was 12, 11 when I stopped. But I remember I was young enough to go in the field with my mom and chop cotton. And that's how we got our school clothes. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I was helping her out. Like I say, my dad was on drugs. I didn't see him and it was me, my mom, my sister, and my mom was going through her things from abuse that I seen physically, my dad physically jumping on her, beating her. Like I remember my mom having two black eyes, you know what I mean? And I remember my mom fighting my dad back too. I remember seeing her win some of those fights. So it wasn't always one sided. Sometimes he'll be too high, drunk or something, and try to pick a fight or whatever the situation was, and she might win this one. And it was crazy, man. And I remember my mom used to tell me, she said, "Son, you can't make anyone love you. If they don't love you, just move on. You can't beat someone to make them love you." He said, "Don't put your hands on a woman." He said, "Now, I remember tell don't be no fool. Don't let nobody put their hands on you. You correct them." He said, "But if it comes to that, it's time for you to go." You know. And I remember making a promise to my mom that, hey, I won't do that. I won't beat no woman. I won't put my hands on. I won't do that. You know what I mean? And I never did that. You know what I mean? I had confrontations, but I never. That's not my thing. You know what I mean? I'll leave you quick before it comes to that physical stuff. I wasn't with that. And because I remember seeing my mom, man, and not just my mom, but my aunts. I got an aunt that she's dead now. I remember her having a heart attack. My aunt Bobby, and that's when we came back, from Denver, and I remember her having a heart attack. She wasn't married to the guy, but she was with this guy, and he was jumping on her all the time, beating on her. And I remember, part of that and the stress. My auntie had to have an open heart surgery. You know what I mean? And we thought we was gonna lose her, and actually lost her a couple years ago, but she lived many years, many good years after that situation. But I remember thinking I was gonna lose my aunt. Because of the abuse that I seen, coming from the South, and I didn't realize it at first, but it seemed like all the men that I met from the South, from that region of Cotton Field, being in McGee, Reed, Durham, Arkansas City, it's like a lot of the men beat women, beat women. I ain't talking about just hit them. Now I wouldn't say all of them did, but boy, 80% of them did. Probably a little bit more than that. You know what I mean? But a lot of them believed in that physical abuse. Beating them, making somebody do something, or you ain't doing something right, so I'm gonna beat you. And then me not knowing no better until I grew up that was part of slavery. You know what I mean? That was part of how they did the black males down there, and they treated them. And they say that when you do something for generations and you train someone and you that they continue it for a while before that curse is broken. You know what I mean? And now I understand. I didn't at that time. Man, why they beat the women all the time? You know what I mean? And the women still love them and try to be with them, and the man I almost have to take their life before they figure out, I just got to leave them alone. I ain't gonna, I never understood that. So I didn't want to be that type of man. So, you know, I ventured off to more of the caring type of individual, but I like to hustle. And I grew up with people that was willing to do what it took. They hustled, they stood out. And I remember um, my introduction actually to crack cocaine. I was 12 years old, and a friend of mine that was maybe I think my friend Jamie Frank was probably a couple years older than me. I think he's a couple years older than me, maybe three at the most, but I want to say he's like a couple years older than me. And I remember him coming to me with this bottle. He had it in a pill bottle, I remember, and he said, "Hey, Lil Joe," because that's what everybody called me. You know what I mean, Lil Joe. So they was like, "Hey, Lil Joe, man," you know what I mean. But I was known in the hood for just being bad. I fight. I ride bikes and just do things. I was just known for being, active. People knew me. I mean, I was just around. I ride bikes. People just knew me. You know what I mean. I was known for hustling or just networking, but not in no street way. You know what I mean. I was still a kid, but people knew me. So he came to me and said, "Hey, let's get some money, man. I got this. Someone gave me this. Let's make some money off of it." I'm like, "How do we make money off of it?" You know what I mean? I'm like, "What do we do with it?" You know what I mean? I didn't know what to do with it. He was like, "Well, this already broke down. This is, 20. If you break this one in half, that's 10. You could probably sell this one like for 50 or 60. And I remember, at first it was like, man, I don't know, I don't know if I'm gonna be good at that. So I remember my first incident, I kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like shit off from him, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? I let him do his thing, then he came back, showed me some money. I remember him got some money because I remember him come back. He had some new shoes and some had a gold tooth, you know what I mean? Because that's when they had the pop up. Now I think he had went to Louisiana though, but I don't know if he had the pop up or the real gold. I can't remember. But I remember my guy ended up leaving at one time too, you know what I mean, and coming back and he was into it, you know what I mean? And so I ended up eventually getting into it, but that's who initiated it to me. And then one of my older cousins, um, who I consider that's the OG, he introduced it to a more broader scale to me. As far as like, you know, I was like 13 then, where I actually learned, you know, the fundamentals of it. You know what I mean? Like he taught me how to make money off of it, how to cut it up. He didn't teach me how to cook it though, but just how to cut it up and how to make money and what I should bring back. And I remember at that time it was the rule was like 60-40. You know what I mean? You get 40%, I get 60% because I'm giving it to you. You know what I mean? You make the money, but I'm giving you the opportunity, so I got to make more even though you're taking the risk. So, you know, to me that was fair. I'm like, bet, you know, I ain't putting nothing in it. And then he was like, you know, once you get good, then you come back and shop with me and I give it to you for that number or that price. You know what I mean? So that's how I was introduced to it at like 13 years old. And then by the time, I ain't gonna lie, by the time I was 14 and 15, it was like I was a veteran. Like I knew how to do everything. Like I knew how to do everything, you know, and it was all from being around the people that I was around, but a lot of the older people that I respected, like my OG that taught me actually, you know what I mean, how to network, who gave me actually my first bag and said, bring me 40%. I remember, you know, it was never, they didn't ever teach me balance, you know what I mean? You know, protect yourself, you know what I mean? If you gotta have a gun, have one, but they didn't ever teach me. They didn't want me to do no robbing and no stuff like that. It was more of, you know, they was just trying to teach me how to survive. And they knew me and they knew my money. It's like, oh, I'm gonna teach you how to make some money, you know, you wanna make some money, you know. But I remember them telling me, man, put them guns down. Don't be robbing, man. You know, I'm gonna teach you how to do this, you know. And so to me, to them, that was the best thing they could teach me. And to some of my peers, you know, a few older than me, you know, they was into, you know, taking it, you know what I mean, robbing or whatever, you know what I mean. So I had like both of these devils on my shoulder, you know, one telling me, nah, don't do that, do this, you know, and even, you know, how can you glorify one over the other? But he was like, you ain't taking no lives, you ain't taking nothing, you just doing this, and even though you destroying lives, so you know, you kind of taking lives in the long run, but you don't really see it like that when you in it, you know, when you involved in that. So, you know, I went from there, man, and I started learning, and I can't lie, like by the time I was 15 years old, by the time I was 15, 16 for sure, before I got incarcerated, I had got a BMW, man. Well, Benz. Now, it was a Benz, actually a two-door. I want to say it was a five-speed, or no, it was just a stick in the floor. And man, I had, and this was in Denver too, by the way. Like I say, things had started progressing in the streets for me. Like I knew the streets. And I remember going back to Denver. So let me not get ahead of myself. I went back to Denver after being in Arkansas because I learned the hustle literally from Arkansas. Like I learned the streets. But by the time I went to Denver, you know, went back, you know, some of my friends, you know what I mean, they was into the streets and my hood, and like I say, in Denver was Montbello's. All my homeboys that I looked up to and respect, he was from Five Deuce, Broadway, and 60s. You know what I'm saying? So I knew a lot of homies from, you know what I'm saying, from the Crip sets, like a lot of homies. That was my homies, you know what I mean? So, but my homies that I hung with a lot was from Five Deuce. But I wasn't personally Five Deuce. Now, my OG that raised me was 90 Crip. And my cousins now that actually introduced me to growth and development, they was actually coming back and forth from Milwaukee. So, you know, that's how I end up um, carrying a blue flag because my whole family was blue. And then my neighborhood that I grew up in, you know what I mean? Both of them, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like, you know, not no forced situation, but, you know, they say you are where you born at, you know, you are your environment. So I grew up in that environment. Let me stop for a second. I want to see anybody say I see a couple things pop up. Appreciate that love. Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate that love. Yes, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing that things went the way they went, and but it was a learning experience, and like I say, I grew up in this. I didn't have, I can't just tell you I had a lot of choices. I just used what I had. You know what I mean? I used the best at what I had, and so by the time I went back to Denver, I was, in the streets, so I just had to find a connect. No lie, like I got there, found a couple friends, found out they was moving, crack or where to get it from, and I got to networking with them, and we walking around smoking weed and messing around, and we getting money though. You know what I mean? Like I remember, we used to mess off and kick it all day, and I remember I used to go, and this is no lie, in Denver, I was 15, and I remember I used to get up and leave every day at a certain time in the morning and come back about a certain time. And I used to say like I was at work, and I made enough money like I was at work. I probably made like in Denver, like no, not exaggerating. I might work be up there 8 hours networking, moving around, playing. I might make anywhere from three to $1,200. You know what I mean? A day, just messing off. You know what I mean? Young. You know what I mean? And I used to put the money back. I had a shoebox, which my older daughter, Ty, that I talked about, I stayed with her mom, and she was a little older than me. Um, and I remember, I kept a shoebox of money, and she used to always be like, "I'll just put them here." You know what I mean? She probably got some, but we stayed straight, and she respected my hustle. I was young, but I knew how to get money. So she was like, "Man, that what made her attracted to me because I was young, but I always stood alone. And even when I met my daughter mom, I was alone. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy how things happen, but I learned my rise come from me literally being involved in the streets. So for me being where I'm at now, it's a true blessing, man, because um, I didn't see where I'm at when I was going through that, when I was rising from that. You know what I mean? Watching my family go through that. You know what I mean? And like I say, that turn of my father getting on crack cocaine changed a lot of things. Like I think my life put a man. I probably would have been an athlete because I was good at baseball and football. So, and then I gave it up. You know what I mean? Like I remember giving it up, like losing that passion. I would rather be in the streets hustling than involved in those type of things. And I was good at it, but I just laid it down. You know what I mean? So I get when a person don't have that support, his family not in a corner, and it kind of make you want to say, why I'm doing it. And I remember, playing football and pee wee football and never seeing nobody in my family at the games, and I used to be like, why I'm doing this anyway, and I end up not doing it. I remember one time my mom was working and said that she made it to the game and told me later that, yeah, I watch you play, you did this, you did that, and I didn't know it, but she told me that later. She was just like, I was working so hard, I was trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, and trying to keep you out the streets, and it was, she did all she could. And my mom passed away early. She died at 50 years old. Um, she died from an accidental overdose, is what they call it. They gave her some prescribed medication, and it triggered something while she was asleep, and it killed her. Um, that's pretty much what happened to her. She kind of like drowned on her own fluids or something. I don't know how they just described it, but she died young. And I remember talking to my cousin that's in St. Louis, which is her first cousin, favorite cousin. She used to always tell me. She told him, his name's Terry, told him that she was tired. And I remember he told me, he was like, "Man, Cat, what you mean? We the same age. How are you tired?" You know what I mean? She was like, "I've been through a lot, Terry. I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot. And then I come back to the South, and it's just hard. It's a harder living." And my cousin went to the military and ended up going to New York. And then he ended up selling it in St. Louis later, because his mom or whatever, family moved, migrated. So um, he didn't really see that hard living. And I remember him telling me that he said, "Little Joe, man, your mom was tired, man. She just said she was tired. She had a hard life. Like life was, she was 50, but she felt like she was 80, you know what I mean, with the pain and what she had to go through and the abuse and the love." And then, think about, he was telling me one of the happiest moments was for her to see me do well, getting out of prison after that decade. She was like, I'm tired, I'm cool, I can leave now. He was like, "Man, don't be talking crazy, but you don't know what's going through somebody else's heart or mind when you're looking from the outside, you know what I mean? Because I thought my mom was okay. She was strong, but all the time she was fighting to survive. You know what I mean? And all of that helped me, help build character in me, like help me look at women differently, help me view my sister and them differently, even though we don't have the relationship that I would like us to have. You know, my sister. You know, but I'm knowing that in due time things always turn around. But I believe though, you know, but I know that my odyssey, everything that I went through up to this point, is making me into a better person. You know, and I reveal it because I know it's somebody going through something that need to see someone honestly just being real, and to hear a story that is not made up. You know what I mean? It's not glorified. You know, I could go into the street stuff, which in the book I'll probably tell a few stories of some things that happened to me that I never forget. But the main thing is it to just show how a person started from one way and went a completely other way and then came back. You know how they say if you train a child in the way they should go, when they are older, they won't depart. So if the right seeds be planted in you, they will bring forth fruit. It might take some time, you know, like the bamboo tree. You might have to water this tree for 2 years before you're gonna see something. And when it starts sprouting, it's gonna sprout, you know? And with the rise of Black Phoenix, you know, it's not about me, even though I'm gonna tell my story. But to me, the Black Phoenix is any Black Native, Black African American who have risen from a situation, who has risen from poverty, who has risen from depression, who has risen from abuse, or has risen from one life to another. You know what I mean? Like transcended from living the street life, gang banging, to um, being in the corporate America and doing business. It's a story about someone that was a complete underdog and risen. You know, the story of the Phoenix is it consumed itself from its own ashes. And sometimes we do things to ourselves to cause pain on ourselves out of the ignorance. You know, we do it because this is what we was taught, or this is how we feel at the moment, you know. And those things, our actions consume us. It consumes us. And then like the Phoenix bird though, that's what's so dope about it. Because from those same ashes that we was consumed, we're gonna rise from. And that's what makes us strong. That's what makes our story authentic, where we could actually touch another wing and help another phoenix rise. You know, that's why, you know, it's not too much about me being a Black Phoenix, but it's about me showing that it's Black Phoenixes all over this country, all over this world, and especially from rural areas. But I think that we need to see someone. We need to hear that story from 0 to 100. We need to hear that story that this person actually did this. This person actually, you know, went to prison at 16 years old and had to teach himself how to read and teach himself how to do mathematics to get a GED and to go to VOTEC and to go to college for small business management. Like this is things that literally had to happen, had to take place, you know, and everything that happened for a reason, you know. I mean, even now, like sometimes, you know, I can't lie, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get discouraged to this day. You know, I'm in a new city, and being here, things are they're going, but boy, it's slow. You know what I mean? But I see that the people that I'm starting to attract, or that I am attracting, are the ones that I'm needing. Because you know, it seems like getting started, people tend to say anything. You know, a tongue to say anything. I like to say that a lot, but actions speak louder than words. You know, so if you say I'm open for a blessing, bless me, and, so, and you get somebody sent to you, you can't criticize the blessing. You know, you can't criticize the messenger just because the messenger isn't looking like what you expected. You know, it's like the man that prayed and said, God save me, I'm drowning. A man come through in the boat. Hey, sir, you need some help? Oh, nah, I'm good. God about to save me. The guy dude left. Here come a guy in a helicopter. Hey, you trouble down there? You need us to throw you a rope? Nah, I'm good. God gonna save me. Here come a big ship come through. Hey man, you need us to throw you a lifeboat over? You trouble? Nah, God gonna save me. And he died. And when he got there, he was troubled. He went to heaven. He was around God, and he just had to ask him, why you didn't save me? He was like, I sent three people to you. You refused to help. Did you think I was personally gonna come down and help you? I did. I sent someone. Sometimes we tend to look at the people that God sends because they don't look like what we want God to look like. Which, when you look in the mirror, you realize that God looks just like you, just like the average individual. Because if He created you, He's in us. So if you shun the least, then you did it to Him. If you disrespect one, then you did it to Him. So I had to realize this as a man, as I rose to my consciousness as a black man, just to not want to harm my brothers, not want to see nobody do bad, but wanted to see us all rise, but knowing that it's not my purpose to go wake anyone up. But I realized that we are light, so I said, hey, I've been walking along, I've been doing my own thing, so if I can do anything, I can leave some archives. Ain't no reason for me to be selfish with my life. I might as well share it because I don't know who might need just what I had to offer, or just what I went through, or just what I'm going through, or just what I just said that might spark something, that might plant the seed that was planted in me that brought me back. You know what I mean? So I know that it's hope, but I know that it's not into trying to wake people up, so to speak, but to just be that light, man. So with the rise of Black Phoenix is to just show that light, to show the demise of one's own character, how you get into things and you make bad decisions, because at the end of the day, regardless of us being young and naive, we still made a choice. We made a choice. And we have to embrace that choice and know that from that choice, there's circumstances, there's consequences that we're going to have to embrace also. My mom used to always say, she was like, son, once you make that bed, you're going to have to lay in it. And I didn't get it, but I had to lay in that bed for 10 years, man. I had to lay in that bed for a decade in prison from 16 to 26 because I made a bed that I had to lay in. And I had warning signs, but I knew that God still wasn't throwing me away, but He had to slow me down. So it took that decade to get Phoenix to rise, to get me to where I'm at now, to get me to the point where I'm always changing. I feel like I'm always evolving. I don't never want to get to the point where I'm standing still. But you will have moments where you feel like you're not progressing, where you feel like, man, what is going on? Like I say, being here in a new city, I'm in Oklahoma City, and it's a little different. You know what I mean? The people are a little different. The people are friendlier, but friendly people that greet you with a smile all the time. You know how they say, the kiss of the enemy is deceitful. See, the enemy will kiss you and smile at you. But sometimes the people you need around you might have to watch you first, want to see some actions, want to do a job or two. So here I'm learning that the best way to show who I am is to show with actions, because a lot of people talk. Yeah, they talk this. I want to do this. I want to do this, but they're not really doing it. They're not putting no action behind it to see some progress, like, or they do it halfway. And the way I look at it, man, you only got one life. You might as well maximize this thing, push it to its limits. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna get my hog on. So I had to come here to Oklahoma City and start building a cafe. And I had someone ask me about the cafe, and the cafe is my cafe. Like, that's why I'm calling it the HogOn Cafe. I literally wouldn't call it that if it wasn't mine. And my goal is to use that as a starting point. But I'm killing two birds in one stone. See, I'm not only showing you that, oh, I'm building a cafe. Nah, I showed you how I went and made an investment with a container. And before I made the investment, I'd already had it sold, the other half of it sold. So what I did was I sold a half of it to pretty much get my end for free, and also show some work ethics, because I want to network with someone. And the best way to show them what I can do is to show them what I can do. So by me doing it, it opened up other doors, some installs, and then I was able to show my work ethics to build a relationship. But I wanted to show the imagine of the container, the HogOn Cafe construction conversion, because I'm showing you how sometimes you really literally have to use what you got. You have to use your work ethics. You have to use your talents, your skills. You have to use uh, what you went through, what you already survived to help you make a better decision. And so with the rise of Black Phoenix is to actually show you with actions. Like I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. And sometimes you get stagnated. Sometimes things happen. Like right now, I have situations where I have to sit back for a second and wait on some more finances because I'm taking care of home and taking care of the bills, and I'm trying to invest in my business venture. But me putting money in that right now, I'm not getting no return. So I have to manage. Like I said, you have to be a good steward of what you get. So I got to take care of this. I try to do some installs and do something. That's why I like the field welding and the repairs, because that's like my ATM money. That's how I get that money, take care of some bills, and be able to put some more money towards the project that I'm building on, which is the HogOn Cafe. So sometimes you'll get stagnated, like, with projects because you don't have the full finances. And that's fine. Things will work together, but don't give up. Don't not try to do something just because you don't have it at the moment. Use what you got, and as you go, you'll be surprised on how other things line up. So while I'm building it, I'm showing my work ethics to help bring other future jobs that, hey, if you need some of this done, I can do this, and I'm showing you I can do this physically. So the rise of Black Phoenix is to most definitely make actions speak louder than words, but to use your ashes as your greatest asset, which is what you went through, what you faced, what you did to yourself, what you probably did to others, and you've risen from those ashes to become something better. So just because, I did a decade and I was raised, hustling and gang banging and selling drugs, and you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that that was my life. That was a environment that I was in. And we are a product of our environment. So if you was raised in an environment, don't you think you probably be thinking or acting like that environment? And a lot of times people tend to judge someone because of how they respond or how they act or how they don't say certain things, or, oh, I wouldn't say that like this, but like, hey, you don't know what this person went through. You don't know what they walked through for you to cast those type of stones. You know what I mean? So me personally, that's why I walk alone a lot, because I know that I know me. At the end of the day, I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of. And I know that my survival is dependent on what I do, how I utilize my past and what I went through. Because history repeats itself. So if I can learn from the past, I can brighten my future. I can also brighten someone else's future. I can also show them a better way. So with the rise of Black Phoenix, my goal is to show a better way off of me going through what I'm going through and just revealing it. Like, that's why I don't have no problem with showing my struggle and showing different jobs or showing something might not be right. Things happen, it might not be right. I'm gonna get better though. I'm gonna get better over time. And that's one thing people don't like to reveal. Some people just want to show you when they get it right. Oh, I got it right now. I'm perfect. No, to me, I was perfect when God made me. So if I make mistakes, they are lessons. They're not mistakes, they're lessons. I can give up on them, or I can just keep learning from them. You know what I mean? So I believe the process is more exciting than making it to the pot of gold. Once you make it to, oh, I got to go, I got to go. But man, don't you think that journey, getting that goal, all that stories, all the hard time, what you had to do to get there, that was more exciting than actually getting it. Because sometimes you can get it and then you lose your excitement, you lose who you are. You know what I mean? So with me creating the HogOn Welding School and wanting to have a community where I'm teaching and really helping some people do something with their lives, my goal is to do that independently. You know what I mean? Not because somebody gonna fund me or I'm gonna go get a nonprofit. That's why I have an LLC and not a nonprofit. It's because I didn't want to be controlled by someone else. I didn't want the government to be in my pocket. I wanted, me to finance it with my work ethics and my products and be able to help people, you know, on my own terms, you know what I mean? And help people of like-minded because my goal is, anybody, a lot of people would jump into something when everything is paid for them, but only those who really wanted to pay for it for themselves or figure out a way to make it happen where they won't be in debt or over the head or still be able to get some valuable jewels. So my goal with the school is to just turn it straight into a business. And that's something that they don't teach in school, high school, none of that, college. So I'm gonna teach you how to turn a trade into a business, a simple trade, and just using it to branch off and do other things, other amazing things, because there's no limitation to what you can do when it comes to welding fabrication. None. You can just pick your field. Once you know what you're comfortable in, you can go. So, my goal is to just give you something because I know that you might have other things that you want to do, but you need a tool. You need something to actually finance the other dreams and ideas and goals that you have. And welding is a tool, is a finance that you can use, a way to create the money you need to create your passive income to do what you really want to do. So with the rise of Black Phoenix is to live by example, to just show you my life organically. That's why I'm talking about this live, because I don't care, if I mess up or stumble over a word, I don't have no strip. I'm not reading something. I'm just talking to you. I'm just giving it to you for real because I don't have to pretend it because I lived it. I've been through it. You know what I mean? I experienced it. I gained some wisdom from it. So I don't have to walk around and read it every day and quote it, and say it, I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna be rich. I ain't got to because I know I will eventually. I will. You know what I mean? And to me, being rich isn't about having so many numbers, zeros in a bank account, but it's about being able to say, hey, be able to tell my wife, hey, let's go have lunch. Let's go have breakfast in Miami this morning. And then let's go chill under a fireplace in a cabin in Colorado in the mountains tonight. You could do that by being rich. You gotta have a little money, but it ain't about a lot of money, but it's just thinking big. To me, that's rich. Say, hey, let's go take all the grandbabies and let's go on a trip with them. Let's take them to somewhere and have a lot of fun with them. And then spoil them real good and then take them back home. That's what you can do. I mean, that's the type of stuff I want to do. I want to enjoy my kids. I want to enjoy other people. I want to have relationships where we laugh and we talk. Like, it's not about frowning and being hard all the time. There comes a time for everything under the sun. There's a time for war and that's a time for peace. That's a time for um, crying and that's a time for laughter. So I just want to embrace the time. Embrace the time that I'm in, and I feel like when you're going through what you're going through, it's not going to be easy all the time. When you're rising, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. You got to think the Phoenix consumed itself. It burnt itself up. So that's some pain. That was some agony. That was some type of, it couldn't have felt good. You know what I mean? But it risen. The resurrection. You know what I mean? The resurrection of you. So I call myself the Black Phoenix, and I'm gonna also let you know that that name was given to me in prison. A friend of mine was reading um, in the dictionary one day, and he ran across the definition of Phoenix, and he, in the concordance, and it really, expired him, and he came to me and he said, "Hey man, check this word out." We looked through it. I said, "Man, that's dope." He was like, "That's you, man. You Black Phoenix." And I'm like, "Whatever." He's like, "Nah, man, you went through the drugs, you went through the streets. Look what you doing now. You got your own. You taught yourself how to get your own GED because he watched me get my GED, and that was impressive to him that he watched me teach myself at the tables early in the mornings or in the evenings when other people playing dominoes. I'm over here writing something down, thinking like, how can I do this? Hey, man, how do you say this word? It was what it was. If I don't know, I'm gonna ask you. You know what I mean? So it inspired him to see me get to that point. And I had just got my GED a letter afterwards. And I remember him giving me that name. He was like, "You're Black Phoenix." So the Black Phoenix name, I received it in 2000. Oh no, I'll take that back. In 99. So I received my GED in 99, and that's when the name Black Phoenix got engrafted to my vocabulary, so to speak. uh, that's when I embraced it. And then later, as you embrace something, you learn more. You learn more and more and more and more. And that's when I embraced this. That's why I was holding this up, because the rise of Phoenix, I wanted to have, I wanted to be remembered like the Egyptians. They had a purpose. They said they was going to be God. They was going to live forever. And a lot of people thought they was crazy, but they was like, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna leave a monument. I'm gonna do something that's gonna live longer than me. And I was inspired by that, being in prison, being young. And I was like, when I get out, I'm gonna grow my beard like a king, like a pharaoh, like royalty, because I am royalty. I'm in prison right now, but I felt like Joseph. You know what I mean? I'm in Pharaoh's prison, but later I'm gonna become one of his head men. You know what I mean? And I did that, and I grew this, not knowing it was even gonna grow like this. Cause like, think when I went to prison, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I ain't even had facial hair. Like, I had peach fuzz on my chin, literally. I gained all a mustache and a little piece I do have, a little speckle here and there in prison. Like, I literally turned into a man, from a boy into a man in prison during that decade. Like, I remember I had a smooth baby face, literally. And so I just had an idea. And I remember getting the idea. And at 19 years old, I think I started having a couple of hairs, but you can't grow them in prison. So I had to just shave the little piece of I did get. And I was like, hey, my stuff grow. I'm gonna grow my hair out, grow my chin out and make it long, like a pharaoh. And, people in there, they'll say, oh boy, whatever. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And I did that. I did that because that was my symbol of living to be remembered when someone seen me. I wanted to not only be, when you see me, being black, but I wanted you to see me and knew I was different. There was something about me, because the average person you see is not going to be um, groomed or present themselves like I'm gonna present myself. You know what I mean? So I wanted to stand out like that. So that was my way of standing out, was to have a different look. And so the beard was a part of it, and it was a part of me showing my growth as a man. So that's another reason. And as I live until I perish, I always have this, and it's to show my growth. And when I really start growing, and I let it just turn gray, because at first it wasn't all the way gray. It was black and life. I'm 40 years old now, and stress here and there. And I used to dye it, keep it solid black. And I remember a artist that I respect, activist David Banner. I remember him listening to him on a podcast saying that we have to embrace our gray hairs, our wisdom, and that's how the younger generation would embrace us more. But if you're trying to look just like them, or they're gonna be like, man, what can I get from you? You out here with me, you ain't went through nothing. You look like So I was like, yeah, you right. So it was more of a symbol of showing the aging, the the understanding of a man. So I just let the gray go. I just let it go. And I braid it now and just let it go. And the two, actually, I keep it in twos for a purpose too. And we all know that two is better than one. Unity, unity of the body, unity of the mind, unity of yourself, to be in harmony. And that's another reason why you see me with two all the time, because it represents harmony with myself. Once you know who you are, it's a peaceful thing. You know what I mean? Like, you really be at peace, and others might go through things and not know, but once you know who you are, you at harmony, you at peace. So that's just something that it represents for me. So I wanted to share that for those that might want to know that it just wasn't for fashion. My gold teeth, I shared the other day, I got 8 gold teeth to represent new beginnings, because I believe in numbers. And the number 8 stands for new beginnings. And I was released from prison on March the 8th of 2006. And then my daughter was born on December the 8th of 2006. And my first job from prison, being a welder, I was making $8 an hour. So numbers mean something to me. I think everything has a purpose, and I don't over exaggerate anything, but I do believe numbers mean something, especially when you're studying from a spiritual standpoint and you really understanding life. You know what I mean? So I share my story not to boast or to brag about anything, but to be naked and not ashamed. You know, I read a book from T.D. Jakes, which was my first book I ever read in my life, completely beside the Bible, was T.D. Jakes' book, and it was called Naked and Not Ashamed. And by the way, I had to also read the Bible from the back, from the front to the back, from the back to the front. And I did that on purpose because in prison I had a lot of time, and I used it, and I did it with a concordance because I wanted to know the meaning of certain things. So I have a lot of spiritual and biblical principles. Like I did classes, and I did in-depth Bible studies and learning because I wanted to know, and I studied and learned from a lot of different religions. I have friends that's Muslims, Sunni Muslims, Nation of Islam, Five Percenters, Buddhists. I have friends that's different things, Christian, Judea, from Yahwehism. You know what I mean? So it's just I know people from all aspects, and I respect everybody walk, but I can honestly say that I learned something from everybody. You know what I mean? I never had a closed mind. Being a black man from here, being raised here, we can't say one thing that's complete facts until you test everything out by fire. And that's one thing that's unique about the bird, because it was tested by fire. And gold is tested by fire. Jewelry is tested. That's how they get the impurities out. You got to go through something. So just wanted to say before I leave, the fire that you're going through, as you rise as a phoenix, as you rise as a phoenix, that fire is going to burn your impurities out. That fire is your mistakes. That fire is the things you stumble. That fire is your bad decisions. Maybe born in the neighborhood, you had no choice, because that's part of your fire. That's part of the things that's going to burn off the impurities in life as you embrace them and move on. So I just wanted to say, as a black man, that my story is your story. We all have ups and downs, and I think that if we share it with one another, that's how we really grow. That's how iron sharpens iron, is that we share our experience, we share our faith, we share our ups and downs to help us get to that next level. So just wanted to say, I hope what I gave was an inspiration. All right.